What's happening, guys? This is Brian Alsruhe with neverstate.com, and today is a video that I am not looking forward to making. As you can see, we're at the whiteboard, which means we're going to be talking about programming, but this programming is about the conjugate method. Now, I know a lot of you have heard of the conjugate method. Some of you know it as Westside, but trust me, if you are not training at Westside, you are not doing Westside, you are doing conjugate. There is an absolute difference. However, when it comes to conjugate, it is very much like Latin because a lot of people know it exists, but not too many people really know how to speak it. Now, conjugate is a method, it is not a program. So if you go online and you type conjugate program, you may get some results, but that's not what it's about. There's not one cookie cutter conjugate program. There are methods, it's based off of principles. So there are literally millions of different ways that you can run this for your own personal goals. So it is not a lazy man's program. You're gonna have to think on this one. I'm gonna show you examples of stuff that I do, and you guys can apply it to your own program. However, it is not as easy as, oh, I'm just going to walk in the gym and know exactly what I'm gonna hit, what numbers I'm supposed to hit, what assistance exercise I'm gonna hit. Those types of things are gonna have to come from your own brain. So I recommend that a lot of beginners do not do conjugate for two reasons. Number one, you're doing a lot of maximum effort work, so you're going for 3 rep maximums or 1 rep maximums. And if you're not used to pushing that deep and knowing how to struggle against weight, it's probably not gonna go too well for you. And the second reason why I recommend this to intermediate and advanced lifters is because the amount of brain power that goes into it. You're gonna need to be figuring out what variations are gonna work out best for the weak points in your lifts. If you're a brand new beginner, you probably don't know where the weak points of your lifts are or how to address them or what they look like or what exercises will work that type of muscle. So you probably need a little bit of time in the game before you do conjugate. With that said, remember there are 1,000 different ways to run this. This is how I run it. I'm not saying it's the best way. I am not saying it is the most efficient way. I am not saying that I have this all figured out. All that I'm sharing is what has worked for me, and I can honestly say running conjugate has never worked better for me than any other program that I've ever tried. So here we go. All right, so like I said, it is a conjugate method. That means that there are principles. I'm gonna teach you those principles and you can apply them to your own training, but you can run this any way that you want. Like I said, there's 1,000 different ways to do it. It is not a lazy man's program. You're gonna have to put some thought into this one. I'm gonna give you examples and I'm gonna show you how I run it. However, your program may look very different because of your medical limitations, your equipment access, whatever your goals are, those things are all gonna change how this is actually run. Now, it is on a 4-day schedule, 4 days a week lifting. If you can do less than that, this is going to be a little bit tough on you. And I really would not recommend doing more than 4 days a week because doing the maximum effort work 2 times a week is going to run you right into the ground. So I'm gonna go more into detail about exactly what each one of these days means. But your first day is gonna be your maximum effort. ME stands for maximum effort, people. DE stands for dynamic effort. Come on, stay with me. So day 1 is maximum effort lower on a variation of your main lift. So that could be a squat, but you're not actually doing your competition squat. You'd be doing a box squat, a front squat, an SSB squat, a Paul squat, those types of ideas for examples. Your second day is going to be maximum effort upper, where you're going to do some variation of the main lift of a bench press or an overhead press. So you might be doing close grip bench, floor press, you might be doing an axle overhead press, a log overhead press. Your third day is going to be your dynamic effort lower, which is going to involve bands or chains or some form of accommodating resistance. Now, before you freak out and say, I can't afford bands or chains, that is completely fine. You do not need to use bands and chains. That said, bands and chains will absolutely help this program go a lot better for you, and you will make much better progress if you do invest in some bands. They're not that expensive, but they are kind of ridiculously expensive for rubber bands. So like I said, day 3 is gonna be your dynamic effort lower, where you're gonna be working both the squat and the deadlift with your competition stance, grip, cues. Everything is the same for the competition because the entire point of this is to drive up your main 4 big lifts. Now, on your maximum effort days, like I said, you're gonna be doing variations, so you're never actually hitting a straight bench press, not the way that you would in a competition. You're gonna be hitting variations of that. On your dynamic days, you are going to be doing the straight competition grip, cues, stance, whatever. Hopefully you're gonna be adding some bands or some chains, but if you don't, then just use your competition cues, your stance, your grip, all that. I just said that. And day 4 is going to be your dynamic effort upper, where you're going to be working your bench and your overhead press. I hope this makes sense. Now, for this program, try to keep 24 to 48 hours between your workouts. So let's say your maximum effort lower is Monday at 6 p.m. That means Tuesday at 6 p.m., maybe you're ready to go maximum effort upper if it works in your schedule and that's the only way you can run it, then do that, but you will get better results if you take Tuesday off, you can do some conditioning, you can do some active recovery, you can do whatever, but pretty much don't be pushing yourself hard, because Wednesday you're gonna come in and hit your maximum effort upper, and then you're gonna take Thursday off, or for conditioning or active recovery. Friday is gonna be your dynamic effort lower, and then Saturday is gonna be your dynamic effort upper. I try to definitely keep 48 hours between this workout and your first workout, just because your maximum effort lower is gonna be so taxing on your central nervous system. I feel like this is already confusing. You really do need to grab a pen and a paper and start taking some notes on this. Seriously, I'll wait. Awesome, let's move on. All right, so here is an example of your maximum effort lower day. Now, like I said before, you're gonna have to decide what variations work best for you. So if one person says, well, I have trouble breaking the bar off the floor, I want to work on that, then they're probably gonna do Paul's deadlifts. That's what I used here. If someone's problem is lockout, maybe they wanna do rack pulls. It really doesn't matter. It's going to be up to the individual to figure out what they want. This is why when people buy personalized programs from me, I ask a ton of questions to include what the weak points are of each lift, where they struggle, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, all kinds of things like that. That's all gonna come into your programming. But for today, the variation is the Paul's deadlift, all right? Now, you're gonna take as many attempts as needed to hit a 3-rep maximum. So the first 6 weeks of the program, this entire thing is gonna be based off 12 weeks. The first 6 weeks, you're gonna be going for 3-rep maximums. These second 6 weeks are going to be the exact same program. The percentages are gonna change a little bit, and you were going for a 1-rep maximum. But to begin here, to learn how to struggle against weight and to get used to this type of work capacity, we're gonna go for a 3-rep maximum. Now, as always, I do everything in giant sets because I think they're just superior. You end up getting more conditioning in during your stuff, and you get more work done in a shorter amount of time. And a program like this can take a considerable amount of time, so you're gonna wanna squeeze in every single bit that you can into that time that you're actually away from your family and your loved ones and everything like that. So my giant set for the Paul's deadlift is gonna be 10 kettlebell swings. Now that for me, you guys know I like to work the antagonistic muscle group before the actual main mover, but the antagonistic to deadlifts is alive lifts. I don't know. So in place of that, I like to do things to get my hips exploding, whether it be jumping, snatches, kettlebell swings in this case. That hinging motion, learning how to do that explosively, is exactly what's gonna help drive up this number. So I'm going to do 10 kettlebell swings to 3 Paul's deadlifts, and then of course a ab variation or a core variation, which is gonna be a 1-minute plank. Now, after this, I'm going to take 90 seconds rest, strict, all right? 90 seconds rest. A to B to C, 90 seconds. Decide what my next jump is, load it on the bar, and go again. You're gonna continue to do this. This first part should not take you more than 30 minutes. If it takes you more than 30 minutes, you're gonna be in the gym for a very, very long time, so push yourselves. I know, man, you feel like you need more rest, but you actually don't. 90 seconds is gonna be plenty for what you're trying to do here. And then once you've found your top set for the day, the beautiful thing about Conjugate is it doesn't need to be a true 3-rep maximum. If you're not feeling good that day and it doesn't work out, then you go off the number that you got your best set of the day. So your top set of the day, let's say you topped out at 400 pounds, all right? 400 pounds for 3 reps on the Paul's deadlift. That was your top set. From there, you're gonna drop back for volume. So you're not gonna get a ton of volume in this because you're probably only doing, 5, 6 jumps on the way up for your Paul's deadlifts. So you're not getting a ton of volume there, so we need to build some volume in here. And since my main strength sport is strongman, when I do my 3 rounds, I'm going to drop to 80% of my top set of the day, not a true 1-rep maximum. So if you only worked up to 400 pounds here, but you've been able to get like 425 in the past, you are not basing this number off of your real 1-rep max. You're basing this number off of your top set for the day. So if you're a little bit weaker, there's no sense in digging deeper into that CNS. You just go off of your top set. And we go at 80% because 80% is a good weight where if you're doing things wrong, it's going to tell you that you're doing things wrong, but it's not so light that you can do anything you want with it. So since I am involved in strongman, my very first set is gonna be as many reps as possible. Typically this is somewhere between 5 and 10. However, sometimes it's more like 2 to 3. Then my second set is gonna be 5 reps, and my third set is gonna be 5 more reps, but I keep all of this in the same giant set. So I will go 10 kettlebell swings to as many reps as possible at 80% of my top set. That's gonna fill in here. And then I'll do a 1-minute plank between, take my 90 seconds rest, and start my 5 reps with 10 kettlebell swings, 5 pause deadlifts, 1 minute plank, 90 seconds rest. And I'll do the same thing for the 3rd set. And again, you need to use your mind here because you can kind of play with these numbers a little bit. If this really took a lot out of you, like you had a 3-rep grinder that absolutely destroyed you, and you're thinking that 5 reps is really not gonna happen, or you go to try it and you get 3 and you're like, that's pretty much what I got, then just change this rep scheme to 5 sets of 3 instead of 3 sets of 5, so that you're getting around 15 to 20 total reps for your volume work. Now we move on to assistance. If you are a strongman, I would cut out the assistance and I would add strongman movements in here. If you are a powerlifter, the assistance movements are gonna be very, very important. So you're gonna do 3 rounds, but your weight really isn't that important here. You're just trying to hit the weak points of your lift. So for me personally on my deadlift, I know my hamstrings need to be a little bit stronger, and I know my upper back needs to be a little bit stronger. So I'm gonna choose exercises that are going to address those weak points. But like I said, for my hamstrings and my upper back, I'm choosing 3 rounds of 10 to 12 reps because again, I'm not that concerned about weight. I'm more concerned about the actual muscles being used that are the weak points of that lift to strengthen them so that my entire lift goes up. So I'm choosing the Pendlay row for 10 to 12 reps, to the stiff legged deadlift, 10 to 12 reps, to the glute ham raise for 10 to 12 reps. I rest 90 seconds again, and then I get right back to it. 3 rounds. This entire workout should not take you more than an hour, hour 15 to get the entire thing done. It's gonna be hard and you're gonna have to push, but you can get this entire thing done in an hour, hour 15. We do it all of the time in my gym. The only other thing that I want to say, because I know some of you are strongmen and I love you guys, if you are a strongman, your variation can very well be a strongman related event. So instead of pause deadlifts, you can do the car deadlift, you could do the axle deadlift, you could do whatever type of deadlift you are going to use in a strongman event, but you just keep this template the same and it's gonna work out for you. If you're a power lifter, your assistance is gonna become more important. If you're a strongman, your assistance is important, but you guys know if you do strongman, you're doing a lot more work for no real reason, besides all the crazy money and fame that strongman brings. All right guys, so there you go. There is a basic template of how I run my maximum effort days. So instead of a lower on Wednesday, I will be hitting a upper. So it very well could be the close grip bench press or the floor press or overhead press variation. And I'm going to stick to the same template. Giant set working the antagonistic or explosive muscle group, the main mover, and then a core variation, 90 seconds rest, adding weight, working up to a 3-rep maximum. Then I drop back for my volume at 80% of your top set. My first rep, my first round, my first set is going to be as many reps as possible. My second one's gonna be 5, my third one's gonna be 5. But again, you are still using the same exact giant set that you designed for your main work. After that, I drop down to assistance, and again, it's gonna be working the weak points of my lift. So if on my bench press, my lockout is weak, I'm gonna be working my triceps. If I am weak off chest, I'm gonna be doing a pause bench press or a spoto press. Those types of things, guys. This is why it is more of a thinking man's game, because it's a lot to figure out. But it works amazingly well, better than anything else I've ever used. But right now I'm gonna show you how to lay out your dynamic effort day. All right guys, so on your dynamic effort day, all this is trying to help you build explosiveness and perfect technique. So you're gonna be using your same competition stance, grip, foot width, everything is going to be the exact same way that you will be using in competition. Remember that on your maximum effort days, you're always doing a variation of the main lift that you are trying to build. So if it is bench press, you're doing a close grip bench press or a floor press. On this, you are using the actual bench press that you will be using in competition. Now, it is all about accommodating resistance, meaning that you should be using bands or chains if you have access to them. It is not a necessity, but it is absolutely a much better way, and it's how this is designed. It will get you amazing, amazing results if you use them correctly. That said, if you do not have access to bands or chains, or you do not feel like buying bands or chains, or you do not have a way to set bands or chains up, then you can do it without. And the most important thing is do not turn your dynamic day into another maximum effort day. So if you start eking out reps and the bar starts slowing down, drop the weight back. It is not important. Weight is not important on these days. Moving the weight as quickly and as perfectly as possible is what your goal should be for your dynamic effort days. So if you're going and your form starts failing because you're moving too fast, pull back on the accelerator. You need to move a little slower so you keep that form as tight as possible. And then if the bar speed is slowing down because it's too heavy, drop the weight back. It is not going to be another maximum effort day. That is the absolute worst thing you can do. This is more like active recovery and practice of being perfect in the movement so that when you go for PRs in 12 weeks, that will still be there, and because of working all the variations, you haven't touched it. This is your practice for those PRs coming up in 12 weeks. Do not turn this into another maximum effort day, because you're gonna need the recovery to come in Monday and hit it hard again with a new maximum effort lower. So with that said, the way that I like to run it is the top of every minute for 10 minutes. Now, these are banded squats, okay? So if you do not have bands or chains, then you're gonna have to figure out an actual, probably your percentage might be a little bit higher, but with bands add a lot. It's gonna change with your setup, with how tall you are. My bands personally on the squat add 300 pounds to the top of the movement. They probably add about 30 pounds to the bottom of the movement. So accommodating resistance is all about making the lift harder as it goes. So as those rubber bands stretch, the lift gets harder and harder and harder. It teaches you to be explosive. I cannot say good enough things about bands. Anyway, so I do a top every minute for 10 minutes because I like to stay moving, and if I don't, then I'll tend to wander, right? So I go with the squat, 3 reps at 40% of my 1 rep maximum. This is banded. I will go at the top every minute. I will do 3 squats, 3 box jumps, take the remainder of the minute to rest. If I move quickly, then I get more rest. If I move slowly, then I get less rest. And trust me, this does not seem like much, especially when you first start out with the percentages. It builds. Trust me, it builds. These percentages go up the entire time throughout the program. I'll explain all that coming up next. So once I'm done my 10 minutes of squats, 30 total reps, I will take a couple minutes to tear down that squat setup, and I will put in the banded deadlift setup. And then I will reset the clock for 10 minutes. And at the top of every minute, I will do 3 reps of deadlifts at 40% and 3 burpee lateral jumps or something along those lines. Just something to keep my body moving. You do not need to do this extra like box jumps or burpee lateral jumps. I do it because I like having the conditioning and I like being explosive. A lot of people want to know how to become more explosive. This entire day is how you become more explosive. But if you're taking the easy way out and you're just kind of doing your reps, then just do your reps. It's completely fine with me. You're the one with goals. You know what you want to accomplish. What I want to accomplish is being more explosive and being more athletic. So I add in the box jumps and the burpee lateral jumps. Those are just examples. I do tons of different explosive movements between my actual minute sets of this. So all my squats take 10 minutes, probably another 5-10 minutes to break down and set up a new thing. Then I have 10 minutes of deadlifts. After that, I move on to either my assistance, if my goal is to be with powerlifting, same exact thing. 3 rounds of 3 different exercises working on your weak points of the lift. So on squats, it might be good mornings, it might be front squats, it might be Bulgarian split squats. Anything that you really need to work on, that's what you're gonna work on. But you get 3 rounds, 10 to 12 reps. Again, you're not really caring that much about the weight. You wanna move a decent amount of weight, but you really wanna make sure that the muscles are working those weak points of your actual main strength movement. And if you're involved in strongman, then I would cut that assistance out, and right here, I would be doing strongman training events. On my lower body, my dynamic effort lower, I'd be working lower body strongman lifts. So that could be sled drags, it could be tire flips, stones. On my upper body days, I would do more upper body related things like dumbbell, circus dumbbell clean and press, or just anything, stone to shoulder, whatever the upper body strongman movements that you need to work on for your upcoming competition, that is what you're gonna throw in here, because this actually only takes about 20-25 minutes, which gives you like 30-40 minutes to really work on your strongman movements, and you're hitting this 2 times a week right there. If you hit a little bit on your maximum effort days, then you're gonna have plenty of strongman training in your programming. Yeah, so guys, this is basically how I lay out my dynamic effort days. Again, with all this conjugate stuff, I'm not saying that my way is the best way. I'm not saying it is the only way. I'm just showing you how I do it. So before you go and you start hating on me, I'm just showing with you guys what has worked for me. And if it works for you, that's awesome. If it doesn't, go do whatever you want. But right now, we're gonna move on to the actual 12-week layout. The video is almost over, guys. I promise. I'm sorry for keeping you so long. Let's move on. Okay, so here we go. This entire spider web here that you're probably gonna need to hit full screen on, or else you're probably not gonna be able to read it because it's a lot of information. But all you need to do is plug in those templates for your maximum effort days and your dynamic effort days into this kind of matrix, and then you're gonna get a good idea of what you're doing. Now, for me personally, when I run conjugate, and this is not across the board, this is not what everyone does. I like to run my odd weeks, so weeks 1, 3, 5. I like to run deadlift and bench focused exercises on my maximum effort day. I could not get away with doing a maximum effort squat and a maximum effort deadlift on the same day in the same week and continually make progress on this, it's just too much for my CNS. I get run down, beat up, and I don't make progress. So I like to split it up. Weeks 1, 3, and 5, I go deadlift and bench focused. And then weeks 2, 4, 6, I go squat and overhead press focused. Now, remember, you are hitting the deadlift, the squat, both on your dynamic effort day, and then your bench and your overhead press, both on your dynamic effort day. So you're getting some of those lifts in every single week. Don't worry about not getting enough work in for certain lifts. That is not going to happen if you split it up like this. All that I'm trying to do is save your body and save your CNS for not destroying yourself with squats and deadlifts maxing out every single week, because trust me, you'll be sorry. Or at least I definitely have been. So if you would be so kind, you can see this is a deadlift and bench focused week because we are in week 1. I'm just giving you guys examples of variations that I like to use for stuff. You can change up the variations. I do not need 1,000 questions being like, well, what about this variation? What about this variation? Yes, the answer is yes. Like if it's a good variation for you, then it's a good variation. A variation doesn't need to be huge. It can be the difference between using an axle and a barbell. That's a variation. That changes it a little bit, but you really want to work on the things that are more focused towards your weak points and the things that you would like to get better at during this 12-week block of training. So week 1, we're gonna have that pause deadlift that I showed you on the maximum effort lower template. Your maximum effort upper, so if this is Monday, this is Wednesday, your maximum effort upper is gonna be your close grip bench press. Try and drive up your tricep strength, because your tricep strength goes up, your bench goes up, it just happens. And then your dynamic effort for both your lower and your upper, hopefully you're using bands, but if you're not, you're using your competition grip, width, stance, everything is the same, but you're working with 40% of your 1 rep maximum, plugging that into that every minute, on the minute, 10 minutes, with the explosive movements in between like I laid out for the dynamic effort template. I'm really hoping this makes sense. Moving on to week number 2. Now we're on the squat and overhead press focused. Week 2, so I'm gonna throw in a front squat because front squats are awesome and they make you better at life. My upper body is going to be my push press because again, we're working on the overhead press variations, except now on your dynamic days, you're gonna kick to 45% of your 1 rep maximum. Now, week 3, we are back to the deadlift bench focused. I'm throwing in a rack pull to work the lockout of my deadlift and a floor press to work out the lockout of my bench press. And you jump up to 50% of your 1 rep maximum on your dynamic effort days. Week 4, we're back to squat and overhead focused. So I'm gonna work on the pause squat, long pause in the bottom, and an actual pause, people. I've seen some of your pause squats. So an actual pause, and then the overhead press, we're gonna be working the split jerk. Now you're up to 55% of your 1 rep maximum. You're still keeping that rest times the same. Top every minute, this is going to start getting harder and harder. Week 5, we're working the deadlift and the bench, so I decided to throw in a trap bar. I don't even own a trap bar, but I figured I'm just giving you guys examples of variations. Long pause bench press, so down in the bottom of the movement, taking a 3 to 5 count pause, a very long pause bench press, and you're up to 60%. Then week 6, we're back to your squat and your overhead press, and I'm gonna do an SSB squat because they are probably the best type of squat that you can do, to a Z press, and then you're up to 65% of your 1 rep maximum on your dynamic effort day. Again, you can throw in whatever variations you want or whatever variations work for you and your equipment access and what your goals are in the gym. These are just some examples that I gave. You do not need to stick to this at all. It's just like my linear progression template that I showed you guys. That is, the examples that I gave is not exactly what you should do. You need to change it to what works best for you because there is no one best cookie cutter program for anyone because everyone's got different medical limitations, different equipment access, different goals. So you need to work these into yours. You have to be a thinking man. You can't just blindly go in and follow something. You have to plan this out. So like I said, all my odd weeks, the 1, 3, 5 are gonna be deadlift, bench focused, and all my even weeks are gonna be squat and overhead focused. Now, for this 6 weeks, you are working up on your maximum effort days, you're working up to a 3 rep maximum, all right? So you're learning how to grind into it. You're really getting your form dialed in. You're working hard, but your weights are still kind of sub-maximal a little bit just because you're going for a 3 rep max and you can pretty much usually do more for 1 rep than you can do for 3 reps. Anyway, and then on weeks 6 to 12, you're gonna go for 1 rep maximum. So you're using the same exact template, same exact variations, everything. Your percentages are going to stay 80%, but now you're working off of your 1 rep maximum instead of your 3 rep maximum. So Keep all of this the same. For weeks 1 through 6, you're going for 3 rep max, and then weeks 6 to 12, you're doing the exact same things, except now you're just trying to beat those old maxes with a 1 rep max. Once you're done that, you take a week deload, and then you go in and you break all of your competition lift PRs. I swear to you, this works like magic. I've never used anything that has worked better, and I really hope this video made sense because it was a whole lot of information in a short amount of time. I really hope you wrote some stuff down. Come on, man. All right, guys, so there you go. There is a free strength program laying out how I personally run the Conjugate method. Like I said, I do not know it all. I don't even have this all completely figured out the way that the original writers probably intended, but this has worked really well for me. Hopefully you guys will be able to apply it to your own training, and it will work as well for you as it has for me. And if you guys do want help setting this up, I do sell personalized programs on my website. It's how I make money. So I'm sorry to do a little shameless plug here, but it is a shameless plug. So if you guys do need help setting this up, what happens is you email me, you tell me you want a program, I send you a list of questions going over your medical history, your equipment access, where your weak points are on lift. We cover everything, what your goals are, those types of things. And then I get that information, I receive payment, then I program this all out for you. I do everything from Conjugate to rotating percentages, to linear, to DUP, to whatever type of program you're looking for, I pretty much write it for almost all strength sports. I don't do weightlifting because I'm not familiar with it. I don't ask anyone to do anything that I have not done myself. And I have absolutely no doubt that all of you are more than capable of doing this on your own, but if you guys are short on time, or you just want someone to help navigate who's been down this road before, you guys have that option. Just email me at neversate@gmail.com and we'll work that out. Thanks. But guys, I do really appreciate you watching, and thank you so much for staying with me through this entire thing. Hopefully this works out for you as well as it worked out for me. Until I see you next time, go out, do something amazing with your lives, keep working hard, be nice to each other, people, and I will see you then.